On a distant world, where alien rivers run deeper than oceans and traditions are older than the stars, a single act of courage changed everything. A human man never thought his life would matter here, until the night he heard the cries. In the darkness, an alien woman was drowning, her hands reaching helplessly above the raging water. Without thinking, he leaped in, risking his life for someone he had never met. But when he pulled her from the river, gasping and alive, the world around him froze. Her people arrived, and instead of celebrating, they knelt. Their voices whispered the words that would trap him in a fate he could not escape. By sacred law, she belongs to him now. The sky above the alien world was heavy with silver clouds, and the air carried the soft hum of unseen creatures. A human man walked slowly, near the wide river, his steps calm, his mind far away in thought. He had traveled across many stars, but this place still felt strange, filled with mysteries he could not yet understand. The river was wide and strong, its water glowing faintly with light, moving faster than any river on earth. He stopped when he heard a sound. At first, it was only a faint echo, almost like the cry of a bird. But then it grew louder, shaky, desperate, and filled with fear. He turned his head and looked toward the river. His eyes caught the sight of a figure in the water. The current pulled her under, then pushed her back up again. Her arms stretched toward the surface, her voice calling weakly for help. For a single moment, the human stood frozen. She was not human, even from a distance. Her form was different. Her skin carried a soft glow. Her hair floated like silver threads in the water. He had never seen anyone like her before. Yet, in that instant, he did not think about who she was, or where she came from. He only saw a life about to slip away. His feet moved before his mind could stop them. He dropped what he was carrying and ran toward the edge of the river. The ground was wet and uneven, but he did not care. Without hesitation, he jumped into the rushing water. The cold struck him like ice, but he pushed forward, fighting against the strong pull of the current. The waves tried to drag him down, but he kept his eyes on her, on the hands still reaching out. He reached her just as she went under again, wrapping his arm around her. He pulled her close. She felt lighter than he expected, fragile in the force of the water. Her breath was weak, her eyes half closed, but she still looked at him. Their eyes met for only a second, but in that second, something unspoken passed between them, a spark of trust, of disbelief that someone had come for her. With every bit of strength he had, the human swam toward the shore, pushing against the water's endless pull. The journey back felt longer than it should, but he refused to let go. At last, his hand touched the solid ground. He pulled her onto the shore, both of them collapsing onto the wet earth, gasping for air. She lay beside him, her chest rising and falling quickly, her glowing skin shimmering against the faint light of the river. He turned to check if she was breathing, and when he saw her chest move, a wave of relief washed over him. She coughed softly, water leaving her lips, and then slowly opened her eyes again. Her gaze rested on him. There was confusion in her look, but also something else, something deep and unexplainable. She studied his face as if trying to understand what kind of being would jump into a deadly river for her. Her lips parted, but no words came, only her eyes spoke, wide and uncertain. Before he could ask if she was all right, a sound rose from behind him. It was a deep, rhythmic noise, like many feet moving together. He turned his head and saw them, figures stepping out of the trees, tall and glowing like her, their eyes sharp and watchful. They surrounded the shore in silence, their expressions unreadable. The human thought they had come to take her back, maybe to thank him. But instead, something unexpected happened. One by one, they lowered themselves onto their knees, their heads bowed toward him, their voices rising together in words he could not understand. The air grew heavy, filled with the sound of their chant. The alien woman, still lying beside him, finally found her voice. Her tone was soft, almost trembling, yet clear enough for him to hear. They believe in a law, she whispered. A law older than all of us. If someone saves a life from the river, that life belongs to the rescuer. The human's breath caught. He looked at her in shock, then at the crowd who still bowed before him. He had only wanted to save her. He never asked for anything in return. But here, under their ancient rules, his single act of kindness had already bound him to something he did not yet understand. Her eyes met his again, this time not with confusion, but with something heavier: acceptance, maybe even sorrow. She spoke once more, her voice low, almost like a secret. "You have pulled me from the water," she said. "Now, by sacred law, I belong to you." The human sat frozen, the weight of her words pressing down on him. He had no idea what kind of world he had just stepped into. All he knew was that nothing would ever be the same again. The human sat still on the damp ground, his mind heavy with confusion. Around him, the glowing figures kept their heads bowed, their strange chant filling the air like the sound of 1,000 whispers. The alien woman beside him was breathing more steadily now, but her eyes did not leave his face. It was as if she was waiting for his reaction, waiting for him to understand something he could not yet see. He opened his mouth to speak, to tell them that he did not want anything from her. But before a single word could escape, one of the taller figures stepped forward. His long robe shimmered in the faint light, and his voice carried both calmness and command. "You have taken her hand from the water," the elder said slowly. His words translated into simple speech. "You have carried her from the river of death. By the law of our ancestors, she is yours now. Her life belongs to you, and your life is tied to hers." The human shook his head quickly. "No," he said, his voice low but firm. "I didn't save her for this. I only wanted to help. I don't want her to belong to me. She is her own person." The elder tilted his head as though listening to something only he could hear. Then he looked back at the human with a solemn gaze. "The river does not make mistakes," he replied. "It chooses. It has chosen you." The words sent a strange chill through the human's heart. He glanced back at the alien woman. She did not speak, but her lips pressed together tightly, as if she was carrying a heavy truth she could not yet share. The clan rose slowly to their feet. Their glowing eyes never left him. Some looked curious, others suspicious, but none seemed willing to argue with the elder's declaration. The human felt their stares like a weight, pressing down on him. He wanted to walk away, to step back into the trees and leave this river behind, but something in the woman's eyes held him there. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but steady. "You do not understand our ways. To us, life is more than survival. To us, a life taken from the rivers. Hands is bound forever. The river marks the savior, and the saved, it cannot be undone." Her words left him even more unsettled. He had heard of strange customs in distant worlds, but this felt different. This was not just belief, it was law, something every one of them seemed to live by without question. He turned to her, his voice gentle. "Do you want this? Do you agree with what they're saying?" She looked away, her silver hair falling like threads of light around her face. For a long moment, she did not answer. Then, with a quiet breath, she said, "It is not about what I want. It is about what is written. My people will not see me as free anymore. They will see me as yours." The words struck him harder than the river's current had. He wanted to argue, to shout that no one could own another life, but the steady gaze of the clan silenced him. Even if he spoke, he knew they would not listen. The elder raised his hand, and the chant began again, softer this time, almost like a prayer. The alien woman lowered her head, accepting the truth she could not change. The human stood in the middle of them all, caught between disbelief and an invisible chain that had already been wrapped around him. As the night deepened, the clan guided them away from the river. The human walked beside the woman, still unsure if he should feel honored, afraid, or trapped. Her steps were light but careful, her face unreadable in the pale glow of the moon. When the others were far enough ahead, she whispered to him, "You do not know what this means. It is not only about me, it is about the bond. From now on, your life and mine are one path. If I fall, you will feel it. If you are harmed, I will carry the pain. We are no longer separate." The human stopped walking, his breath catching. The words sounded impossible, yet the certainty in her voice left no room for doubt. He stared at her, trying to find some way out of this, but her eyes told him there was none. "You never asked for this," she continued, almost gently now, but the river chose, and the clan will never break what the river has tied. Whether you accept it or not, from this day, you are bound to me." The human felt the world shift beneath his feet. He had saved a stranger's life, and in return, he had been given a fate that stretched far beyond his understanding. He did not know what lay ahead, but one thing was clear: his life would never again belong only to himself. The night was calm, but inside the human's heart there was no calm at all. The stars above the alien sky glowed brighter than any sky he had ever seen. Yet even their beauty could not ease the weight that now pressed on him. He walked through the village of the alien clan, guided by quiet figures who bowed their heads as he passed. Their eyes followed him, not with gratitude, but with a strange mix of curiosity, suspicion, and something else he could not name. Every home in the village glowed faintly with soft light, as if the walls themselves were alive. The air carried the smell of sweet herbs, and from a distance, the soft hum of alien songs rose like the breath of the night. It should have been peaceful, but to the human, it felt more like a cage closing around him. The alien woman walked beside him, her steps silent, her gaze fixed forward. She had spoken little since the river. Her face, calm but unreadable, gave away nothing of what she felt. He wanted to ask her questions, wanted to understand what this bond truly meant, but every time he opened his mouth, the words died on his lips. At last, they reached a tall structure at the center of the village. Its roof curved like the wings of a bird, and at its entrance, the elder stood waiting. His robes shimmered with threads of silver light. He raised a hand, inviting them inside. The hall was wide and filled with carvings that told stories in flowing lines and glowing symbols. The humans studied them, realizing they showed figures standing by rivers, saving others from drowning. Every image ended the same way: the Savior and the saved bound together, walking the same path. The message was clear. This law had been followed for centuries, maybe longer. "You see now," the elder said, his voice calm, "the river chooses not by chance but by design. Your bond is older than both your worlds. Do not resist it, human. Accept it." The human stepped back slightly, shaking his head. "I don't understand. On my world, saving someone is just an act of kindness. It doesn't mean ownership. It doesn't mean fate." The elder's eyes glowed softly in the dim light. "And on our world, it does. To break the bond is to defy the river itself. Do you think we would survive for so long if we ignored the laws written in the water?" Silence hung in the hall. The human felt the weight of many eyes watching him. The alien woman finally lifted her gaze to meet his, for the first time since the rescue. Her voice carried more than formality, it carried something almost personal. "You wish for freedom," she said softly. "So do I, but we cannot deny what has already been sealed. Our lives are tied, whether we welcome it or not." Her words stirred something inside him. He wanted to say that he had not asked for this, that he wanted his life to remain his own. But looking at her, he saw the quiet strength in her eyes, the same strength he had seen when she was pulled from the river. She was not a stranger anymore. She was someone whose fate was now connected to his, and neither of them could undo it. The days that followed were even more confusing. The clan gave him a home, though it felt more like a place for observation than comfort. Wherever he went, eyes followed him. Some bowed their heads respectfully, but others whispered behind his back, their words sharp and filled with doubt. He could not understand their language, but he could feel the weight of their suspicion. The alien woman often walked with him, though she remained distant. At times, he caught her watching him from the corner of her eye, as if trying to measure the kind of man he was. When they spoke, her words were careful, almost guarded, yet there were moments when her voice softened, as though she was curious. One evening, as they walked near the glowing trees outside the village, she spoke without warning. "They will test you." He turned to her, frowning. "Test me? For what?" Her eyes met his, steady and calm. "For worthiness. Some among my people do not accept this bond. To them, you are an outsider who has stolen what the river gave. They will want proof that the bond is true." The human's chest tightened. "And if I fail?" She looked away, her silence louder than words. At last, she said, "Then they will not let me stay by your side." and the river's gift will turn into a curse. The thought unsettled him deeply. He had not asked for any of this, but now the idea of losing her, of being separated after what they had already shared, felt strangely unbearable. That night, as he lay awake in the small room they had given him, he realized the truth. He was no longer free. His life, once his own, was now tied to hers. The bond was not only about law, it was about survival, about trust, about a path that could not be walked alone. He closed his eyes, knowing that tomorrow might bring challenges he was not ready for. But he also knew one thing with certainty: whatever came, he could not turn back. The human woke to the soft light of dawn filtering through the walls of his dwelling. The alien village was already stirring with quiet movements and faint songs that drifted through the air like a morning prayer. He stepped outside and found the alien woman waiting for him. She stood tall and calm, her silver hair catching the sunlight, her gaze steady as if she had been there for hours. "You should come," she said simply, her voice carrying a calm authority. Without asking where, he followed her. They walked through the village, past glowing homes and curved paths that seemed grown rather than built. Every glance from the villagers reminded him that he was still an outsider. Still under their watch, some faces showed respect, others only suspicion. The bond had not yet earned him trust. The path led them toward a high ridge at the edge of the settlement. From there, he saw the valley stretched out below, rivers like silver threads winding through the green land. At the top stood another structure, older than the rest, carved from stone that shimmered faintly in the morning light. It felt sacred, untouched by time. "This is where the truth is kept," the alien woman said quietly. "If you wish to understand what you are now part of, you must see it." Inside the chamber, the walls glowed with lines of light, shifting and moving like rivers trapped in stone. Images appeared and faded, ancient figures saving others from water. Bonds formed between savior and saved, and destinies bound together for generations. The human studied them with wide eyes. "This is more than a tradition," he murmured. "This is history." She nodded. "My clan was built on this law. Without it, we would have been lost long ago. The river gives life, but it also takes. The bond is what balances it." Her voice softened as she looked at him. "But there is more you must know. I am not only a daughter of this clan, I am the next heir. My life is not only mine, it belongs to all of them. When you saved me, you did not only change my fate, you changed theirs." The words struck him like a wave. He understood now why the stares had been so sharp, why the whispers carried such weight. He had not just saved a woman. He had tied himself to the future leader of an entire people. He turned to her, confusion and worry crossing his face. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" Her eyes lowered, and for the first time, her calm mask slipped. "Because I did not know if you were ready to hear it. Even now, I do not know if you are ready. Many believe the river chose wrongly. They do not see you as worthy of leading beside me, and they will make sure you prove yourself, or they will find a way to break you." Silence filled the chamber, heavy and unbroken. He looked again at the glowing walls, at the endless stories of bonds that shaped their past. Each one had been accepted without question. But this was different. He was human, a stranger bound, not by choice but by chance. The alien woman stepped closer, her voice lowering. "I do not know what you feel or what you truly want, but I must tell you this: if you walk away, they will see it as betrayal, and if you stay, you must be ready to face trials that no outsider has ever faced before." He searched her eyes, looking for anger, for resentment, but found only honesty. She was as trapped in this fate as he was. Neither of them had asked for it, yet here they stood, bound by a law that cared nothing for their wishes. They left the chamber in silence. Outside, the village seemed busier, as though something was being prepared. Strange symbols were drawn on the ground, and the air hummed with anticipation. The human felt a tightening in his chest. He did not need to ask what it meant. He could already sense the trials she had warned him about were close. That night, as he sat alone under the stars, the alien woman approached him again. She did not sit at first, only stood, watching him with eyes that held both strength and a quiet sadness. Finally, she spoke. "Do you regret saving me?" The question caught him off guard. He turned to her quickly. "No, never. But I do not know if I can be what they expect me to be." Her expression softened, and for the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. "Then do not be what they expect. Be what only you can be. Perhaps that is why the river chose you." The words stayed with him long after she left. He looked at the stars above and felt the weight of destiny pressing down. The trials were coming, and the future of both their lives, perhaps even the clan itself, rested on what he would do next. The ship slowed as the alien woman guided him through the strange fog covering the hidden path. The air smelled different, heavy with a sweet but sharp scent. The man kept looking around, uneasy, because the silence felt almost perfect. She whispered softly, warning him not to speak too loudly. Her people were near, and they had been waiting for this moment. His heart beat fast. He was not sure what kind of welcome he would get. He had saved her life, but what if her people did not see it the same way? What if they thought he had touched something sacred that only belonged to them? The woman glanced at him, her eyes glowing faintly, as if she could sense his doubts. She gave him a small, careful smile and told him to trust her. Then the fog broke apart, revealing something he could not believe. Dozens of alien figures stood in a half-circle round them, tall and graceful, with markings glowing across their skin. Their eyes shone like crystal lights, fixed only on him. Not one moved, not one spoke. The silence pressed harder than any sound. The woman stepped forward, holding his hand, and lifted it high for all to see. A ripple passed through the crowd. Some bowed their heads, others looked away, almost in awe. He did not understand, but he could feel the weight of the moment. These people were not just meeting him, they were judging him. Then, the oldest among them stepped forward. Her face was marked with symbols deeper than the rest, glowing softly like the stars. She raised her hand toward him and spoke in a voice both warm and sharp. The words were not in his language, yet he felt their meaning echo inside him. He pulled her from the water. He is now bound. He is hers, and she is his forever. The man's breath caught in his chest. His heart raced as every alien figure round him lowered to one knee in a slow, deliberate motion. The ground trembled faintly as if the world itself was sealing the moment. He looked at the alien woman beside him. Her cheeks glowed faintly. Her lips parted as though she wanted to explain, but her silence spoke more than words. The truth was clear. His simple act of saving her had tied him to something far greater than he could imagine. Still, questions swirled in his mind. What did forever mean to her people? Was it respect, duty, or something much deeper, something he was not yet ready to understand? And why did the woman's eyes shine with both fear and quiet hope? As the stars above seemed to burn brighter than before, the moment was heavy. Yet something told him this was only the beginning. The bond they had declared would not just change his life, it would change the fate of both their worlds. The night on the island was calm, yet full of hidden energy. The waves touched the shore softly, carrying with them the faint reflection of two moons in the sky. David sat beside the fire, watching the alien woman across from him. She was no longer just a mysterious figure pulled from the water. She had become someone whose presence filled every silence, whose eyes carried more stories than words could ever explain. She looked at him, and for a long moment, neither spoke. Her gaze was steady, filled with something between gratitude and promise. "My people believe," she finally said in her soft voice, "that when someone saves us from the deep, their soul becomes tied with ours, forever." David felt his heart tighten. He didn't know if he could believe in such things, but the way she spoke made him wonder if fate had already chosen for them. The firelight touched her face, making her look both otherworldly and deeply human at the same time. The island had changed them both. What started as survival had turned into discovery. He learned about her world, her customs, her hopes. She learned about humanity, its flaws, its kindness, and the strange warmth she found only when he was near. Each day, the bond grew stronger, unspoken yet undeniable, but the truth could no longer be hidden. On the horizon, he saw light shadows of ships that were not human. Her people had come. They had been searching, watching, waiting. She stood beside him, her hand brushing against his, her voice trembling yet strong. "They will not understand why I chose to stay with you. To them, you are only human, But to me as she stopped, her words caught in her throat, but her eyes said what her lips could not. The air grew heavy with the sound of approaching engines, and David realized this moment was more than just about survival. It was about choice, hers, his, and the meaning of everything they had endured together. The alien ships drew closer, bright lights cutting across the dark sky. She turned to him once more, her fingers tightening around his hand. If I go back with them, I may never see you again. But if I stay, I belong to you, as your people say, forever. David's breath caught. He knew the decision wasn't his to make, it was hers. Yet in his heart, he already understood what her answer would be. She was no longer only of the sea or the stars. She was something far greater, tied to him by the rescue that had changed both their worlds. The fire flickered as the shadow of the alien ships loomed larger. She leaned closer, whispering words that were almost lost to the waves. No matter what happens, I choose you. And as the first ship descended, lighting up the beach with a glow like sunrise, David realized the story of their bond was only beginning, one that would challenge worlds, yet hold together, because of a single moment by the water when one human reached out and refused to let go.